Like, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe.
This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio. It's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
Troop Smooch and the Dog Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dog Show. Your hosts, Troop Brinson and Smooch Moncrief.
Just two dudes talking Georgia football.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dog Show with Troop and Smooch. And Smooch, we are, it feels like, is it mid-July already? We're in the thick of, I guess, decision season.
Yes.
In terms of recruiting, Georgia has been elevated to the number 2 recruiting class. We knew it was coming. And the team ahead of Georgia right now, USC, we've had some back and forth with them on social media. We don't think that they're long for that number 1 spot. But we're having a great time. We're following in terms of just what the numbers are in recruiting. Things are so fluid in this era of football, but a good time tracking that. And it's good to be back on the air. We got a vacation plan in about a week.
We're
going to talk about that. But, man, recruiting right now is the main thing we're looking at.
Absolutely. And you've seen a master class. We've talked about this last week, and about 1,500 of you agreed. An absolute master class by Kirby Smart. You got pomp and circumstance. You got these flash in the pans. We're not naming any names, but USC, we're naming you. And, these Johnny-come-latelys, and they think that by throwing up, I don't know, what do they have, 78 3-stars in their class or whatever it is, that they can somehow, they get the headlines for a little while. But in the end, Papa Bear still rules. And, and even Alabama's right there. It's going to be Georgia, Alabama 1 and 2, no matter what it is, just like it is every year. So relax. Everything will be back to normal soon. Daddy's home.
Yeah. Alabama's coming. They're going to have a great class. And it's not that we don't think that USC's had a good class, and they have. They hold on to it compared to the last few classes. But other teams are catching up with them, and Georgia included. And Georgia's this weekend has a couple of recruits who are making their decisions. A big 4-star defensive back Tyreek Green, and then a 5-star tight end / receiver Caden Prothrow. Both of those guys are trending towards the Dogs. Tyler Atkinson, the number 1 player in Georgia, number 1 linebacker, is hinted at making his decision really soon.
Yeah.
And Nick, is it Abrams? Abrams also another linebacker Georgia looking at. And also the defensive lineman, keep his name on your mind.
Yes.
Valdon Sohn. He is a defensive lineman who Georgia has circled, and Kirby Smart is pulling all the triggers to get this guy on the campus, because Sohn is maybe the difference maker. Him and James Johnson, who they just got a commitment from,
right,
2 of the defensive line.
The havoc creators, yeah.
They are. That's the difference. They create havoc. They get in the backfield. They are unlike just the other linemen that you sign and hope come in there and develop. These are guys who look like can't miss prospects and who are different. So
yeah. Our man Eric over at Bulldog Report talks about that all the time. The value of havoc and keeping that number and the players that can cause it. No one did it like Jalen Carter, of course. That's the havoc you need. And these guys, they create havoc. That's what you want. On Tyler Atkinson, you mentioned this to me, I believe, in texting back and forth this week. Tyler really likes being a recruit.
He does.
In my line of work, they say he loves candidating more than he loves being the guy. He really loves being recruited, pursued, desired, and we want him. There's no team in the country that doesn't want Tyler Atkinson. But there's something undog-like about, and Kirby could change that, but there's something undog-like about him in the way he desires to have all these suitors and watch people fight over him. A true dog comes in and says, I want the best coaching in the country. You can give it to me. I want you to tear me down and build me back up, right? Yeah. That's a dog. And we've seen that. James Johnson said those exact words, right? Khamari Brooks, exact same words. So can Tyler Atkinson be that type of player? Of course he can. But when you talk about other linebackers in the class and then other players in this, there's some that seem more dog. Prothrow, guys, listen, he's an ex receiver at Georgia. I'm pretty sure of it. Our coach Hayes is pretty convinced of it, and I think he's right. He's an ex receiver, and he's the next big thing. So if he commits, which all the experts are saying he will, so unless his name is like, I don't know, Justice Terry or something like that, I would trust the experts. But yeah, he really seems to be trending that way. Prothrow's a big deal, True Brinson.
Yeah, he is, and he's the 1B to maybe Mark Bowman's 1A.
There you go.
That committed to USC, but they're both right there in terms of their what the industry thinks they're going to be and the measurables and their abilities. So we're looking forward to that. That should happen. We're recording this on Friday. It should happen Saturday afternoon. And Tyler Atkinson, as Smooch said it right. We want this guy, and everybody wants him. Let me phrase this right.
Yeah, you have to do that with him. That's an interesting thing.
You have to. He's going to have to be open to D-recruitment once he gets on campus.
Yes, there you go. Great point.
Or he will be one of those guys who's never happy, because I sent Smooch this earlier that there were some red flags, not in terms of what he does on the field, but his social media and the marketing with him, the branding, all that just puts it puts people off, puts me off. He says it puts me off, and I just don't love it. It's so much every day. There's something, and it's like, just look at me, and it doesn't feel right. But he's trending to Georgia, and he's the number one player in Georgia, and one of the top linebackers in the country. He's got all the measurables, and to get after it on the field looks great. So hopefully, if he does commit to Georgia and does make it to campus, they will emphasize that D-recruitment phase, and then he'll take to. Because he's going to need it. He's been loved on so much that the loving he's going to get when he gets to Athens is going to be a little different.
It's different loving,
and it depends on what you want to be. You want to be great, or you want to be praised. You want to be patted on the shoulder, or do you want to be the best you?
Come on,
and we'll see how that works out. The main topic we want to talk about tonight, though, and we do thank you folks for tuning in. We ask you, we plead with you to go check out our YouTube version on top of all our other platforms and give us a subscribe. We're so close to getting 1,000 there on YouTube.
We're getting close, man. I would have never thought that ever.
Yes. So we're right there on the precipice, as it were. And, but we're going to talk about something that doesn't have anything to do with this season.
What are we going to talk about?
The topic for tonight was Georgia gifted 2 national championships? Ooh. A lot of our rivals want to say we were. And by a lot of our rivals, I mean Alabama fans way, way out there. They are telling us that you guys should still be looking for your first natty since 1980.
Isn't that cute?
And then Ohio State's right there too. You guys haven't deserved a national championship. You've been lucky. You've been fortunate. You've been gifted.
You know, if I blew 2 14-point leads, I'd probably feel that way too. I understand it.
So we're gonna dive down into that a bit and take a look at, is there merit to it? Did Georgia get the benefit of injuries to their opponents in those games? And was that the main component in Georgia winning a couple of national championships? They've been knocking on the door for a while. They kicked the door down these 21 and 2022. And so what do we think about that, Smooch? And I want to be really analytic about it, because as Georgia fans, we're going to instinctually step out and say, no, no, football happened on the field, and our roster beat your roster.
I love it.
I don't care how you size that up. Every team has injury problems. Our roster beat our coaching staff. Our roster beat your roster. You can frame it up however you want to make you feel happy. But that's what happened. That's really the bottom line.
Right.
But there are some nuances within that we can talk about, and especially since our those opponents are more than happy to talk about. We can put it out there. We can meet you halfway and talk about that.
We can. So, do you know that in 2022, when Georgia won its second of its 2 back-to-back national championships, that they had a first-round defensive lineman that didn't get to play in any postseason games? His name's Nolan Smith. He was injured. He didn't get to play. He ran a 4.38 40. We didn't have him on the field. So according to Alabama fans and Ohio State fans, we had a perfect excuse for why we could not win those games, right? But we still did. I would also like to say, does Jamison Williams being injured in the national championship game against Alabama, does that explain Stetson Bennett ripping a hole through your defense for the final quarter and a half of that game? Does that explain A.D. Mitchell tearing you apart? Does that explain Brock Bowers taking a screen and taking it in for a touch? I mean, taking a little just out pass and taking it in for a touchdown? Where does Jamison Williams play on your defense, which Stetson Bennett, once Kirby took the training wheels off in the second half, torched your defense? Where does Jamison Williams play on that defense that he, barring injury, would have been able to stop it? He plays nowhere. And then, second of all, look, champions don't complain about injuries. Georgia went into both of those games without starters in the game. You can look it up. Georgia had more players injured than Alabama or Ohio State in both of those games. And by the way, the Ohio State game wasn't a national championship game.
They're just counting that TCU game as that was an afterthought. That's what
they're counting that like a bye. I'm not sure that Ohio State game, that Ohio State team could have beaten TCU.
You don't know it, do you?
You don't know it because you didn't play them. And the thing is I'm not going to apologize for Georgia getting a national championship game against the team that earned it. TCU earned it. Georgia went in and took it. The idea of blaming the injury of wide receivers, the Ohio State. Well, I'll pause and let you jump in here. But I got a lot to say about the Ohio State when I hadn't gotten there yet. Go ahead.
His argument, and if we were on the other side and a couple of our best playmakers didn't play in a certain game, we would say we'd feel like we, in a way, got robbed, and that we didn't get to play our at least what a reasonable strength offensively. And there's an offense, defense, or special teams. There's a whole lot that goes involved in this. But I think a lot of this comes from Alabama and the fact that they beat Georgia a few weeks earlier in 2021 in the SEC championship 41-24. They had Mechie and Jamison Williams, and they had both of those guys until Mechie got hurt in that game. But they combined in that game for about 280 as two wide receivers. So they were that. Even we as Georgia fans, when we saw that game and then we knew we were matching up with them in a national championship, when that came about, we were like, oh, well, it didn't feel comfortable whatsoever.
Of course, they're great players.
Skeptical about Stetson Bennett in this type of a game because he hasn't had it done it on that level before. But there was something as we watched. If you were just a box score watcher and just looking at scores, you could make that assumption. Or if you're an Alabama fan, you could definitely go that route with that SEC championship. Showed you what should have happened if Alabama was at full strength.
That's the thing. That's the thought process.
We watched the whole season.
Yes, there you go.
From first game to last game with both teams. There was one outlier game for both teams. That was the SEC championship. Georgia didn't play like they had played all season defensively. And Alabama didn't put together a game like that. Maybe still hasn't put together a game like that.
I would agree.
But they did that game.
Mm-hmm.
And so they based their feelings on that game is what should have happened.
On an outlier.
It was an outlier. If you really look at the way the season transpired, and Alabama looked so un-Alabama that whole season. They had so many penalties. They shot themselves in the foot. They were inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
They did not look like the team that you expected Alabama with all that talent. They did not look like that team. They didn't. And the SEC championship, they put it all together. And Georgia, for whatever reason, we got a couple of reasons why, and it looked sluggish. They looked like their stamina was in question. They didn't have that at all. And then we got word, which made sense, not as an excuse, but as why? Why would Georgia in this game against Alabama defensively look sluggish? And then we heard about the sickness and the flu running rampant, and it made sense that some of these guys who should have been at their peak performance at that point looked like they had nothing left to give, and they were just hands. They didn't. And you saw, and then to reference that against what you saw in the national championship, where Georgia's defense looked sensational.
Yeah,
you saw, okay, maybe there was something to that. Maybe it wasn't just an excuse making, and that made you feel like, okay, so Georgia lost 41-24 in the SEC championship in 2021.
Right.
They won 33-18 in the national championship.
And let me ask you this, Troop. Who won the Heisman Trophy that year?
That would be Bryce.
Now, they had the same quarterback for both games, right?
Yeah.
How did he play against Georgia in the national championship game? Would you say?
Yeah, he did fine. Even after he lost Jameson in the second quarter, he still threw for almost 370 yards, 369. That's okay. That's a good. That's good offense.
That's really good. Yeah, that'll win most of the time, right?
And so if you say, well, they just needed Jameson Williams late in that game because actually Georgia didn't take the lead until late in that third quarter. Lost the lead, then took it again in the fourth quarter and added to it. But you say that, well, if they had Jameson, then they would have kept scoring. Well, that was Georgia's. That was the iconic, one of the best defenses of all time, and you saw them on display that game. They only give up 18 points, 2 picks against for Bryce Young in that game, and those numbers are pretty good. And let's balance that out against Georgia, who's, if you could say that Georgia's missing players, they were. If you could say that, well, Georgia had to rely on development and depth, they did. Their 2 leading receivers were freshmen.
Yeah.
And Alabama couldn't do that. And they ridicule, or they say, well, it's A.G. Hall, he was this, he made that catch or made these catches, or we had our number 1 receivers. But that's football.
That's football. You got to catch the ball when it hits you in the hand. Sorry.
I feel it. In terms of any of these arguments, I say, yeah, if they had both of those, if both of these teams were at full health, it'd be a totally different game. Different game. George Pickens hadn't played hardly all year. He did have 1 big catch in that game.
It was a miraculous comeback for George Pickens to play that season at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I can feel that argument somewhat, and maybe it would have been a different game if Jameson didn't get hurt, but I don't know that. Because I trust this Georgia defense, and their second halves have always been outstanding. Mm-hmm. And so leaning on that and knowing what I know about that defense.
And knowing that Jameson Williams don't play defense. Jameson Williams doesn't play defense.
Well, and then that Young still threw for 369 yards.
Yeah, right.
And
exactly.
So he was all right. Georgia won 33-18. A late pick 6 by Ringo sealed that one. But it was over, really, I think, before then. Georgia had an 8-point lead, and watching this defense, and Smooch probably feels differently, but watching our defense with an 8-point lead and Young trying to bring them back late in that game, I was still like, I don't think they can do it. I don't think they can score.
I remember you saying
a 2-point conversion. Now we're good. We are good.
Yeah, I remember you saying, hey, dude, I think we're about to do this. And as confident as you were, I was more confident that Bryce Young is going to lead this team down the field.
We've seen this movie before.
This movie before. Bryce Young is going to march them right down the field, score 2, take it into overtime, and win it. And I wasn't negative. I was just like, I've seen some stuff. You know, we all dealt with I'm a Falcons fan. I've seen some stuff. Okay.
Traumatized.
Yeah. I saw 2nd and 26. I'm a Falcons fan. I saw 28-3. Those were the same calendar year, people. They happened together. So I'm ready for Bryce Young to do it. The crazy part was I was the one that had texted Troop before the game. I wouldn't be surprised if Keeley puts this away with a pick 6 late.
You did say that.
I had actually now we've texted.
That was his most optimistic point of the whole day.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when I say that, it sounds like I'm prognosticating, but really, we send 1,000 texts back and forth. So one of them hits, then you focus on that one.
Yeah.
But seriously, when that happened, when Keeley crossed the goal line, I still didn't believe it. I was looking for flags anywhere. Everybody's celebrating. At my house, my father-in-law is pouring, I don't remember, I think it was ginger ale of all things, over my head as I'm sitting there looking, because I'm just looking for flags anywhere. There's got to be a flag. There's got to be a challenge.
Because that's been Alabama over the past, during that stretch. If they needed a penalty, if you were starting to do something good against Alabama, look for the flags, because they were going to come. They were definitely coming. And Alabama was already more talented than most teams, and the flags were going to help them when they needed it, because the officials were human too. They was like, oh, this can't happen. Right. And I don't think it was anything conspiratorial, but it just, you always expected that. And that game didn't happen. I will say that this is true to this Georgia era. In the second half, Georgia beat Alabama. This will come back when we talk about Ohio State. Georgia beat Alabama in that second half, 27-9. That's not a fluke. That's just what Georgia does. Brother. They take you into deep water and they drown you. Come on. I don't care who your quarterback is, who your wide receivers are. They will take you as deep as they can and just flush you. Yeah. And you're gasping for air. And Georgia does that. And so even though I would give some credence to Alabama's feeling that they got robbed of the opportunity, I don't think they beat Georgia in that game. Even with the Heisman Trophy winner, we've seen that before. It doesn't necessarily work out. So
you didn't lose your best player; you lost your best receiver. That's the big difference. If you can lose one player that's not your best player and lose a national championship because of it, guess what? You don't deserve that national championship
because they still recruit better than everybody, Smooch.
Exactly right. And so, by those same standards, Georgia deserved that national championship. They beat you, and they took it from you.
Don't tell me what your blue chip ratio is and how it beats everybody, and then complain about roster depth.
There you go. 100%. No sense whatsoever.
So yeah, we're gonna have to stay right there in Alabama. Yes, you have owned Georgia for the most part. But
one night you didn't. One night you didn't.
Yeah, it's second and 26, but then we got Ringo Keeley pick 6, and we'll balance those out. Those were the two games that really mattered in terms of the big stuff. So we'll move on. We'll talk about a team that this is a little less of a hard case to debate, but it's still fun. And it's the Ohio State game when Bullard put Marvin Harrison Jr. to sleep.
Lullaby.
Yeah, that game was a final 42-41, and you had was it CJ Stroud having just a game of his career. He did everything
unbelievable.
If you had a doubt about this kid before this game, players did or people did, and you didn't after he threw for 348 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, 23 for 34, and he made every play he needed to make.
And running his legs, my goodness, he was the best player on the field that night.
When he needed to scramble and make a play, he extended the play and made just unbelievable passes, and the receivers were finding ways to get open. And what a game. They had 2 14-point leads in the second half. But once again, Georgia does what Georgia does, and Georgia outscored Ohio State in the fourth quarter 18-3.
That will do it.
Just drowned them.
Drown them. That's exactly what Georgia does, right? That is the epitome of it. I was so frustrated watching that game and watching Ohio State be the best team on the field for 75% of that game. But as soon as, like you keep saying, Georgia got them into deep water, that was it. And you could see the tide turn. My mother-in-law, who watches my in-laws watch every game with us, she is a perpetual optimist. She said when fourth quarter and we're all putting up the 4s at the house, she goes, they don't have a big enough lead to handle Georgia in the fourth quarter. And I said, what? She goes, they don't have a big enough lead to handle Georgia in the fourth quarter. They needed to be up by 27 at least. And I said, what are you talking about? And then it's exactly what happened. Georgia beat the brakes off of Ohio State in the second half. And even C.J. Stroud, the best player on the field that night, could not overcome it.
He couldn't. He did everything it was capable of doing. And the conversation about that game and deciding whether Marvin Harrison's exit changed the game. I mean, he had 105 yards early, and then Georgia started put him on lockdown. And the argument is, well, if he was still playing, even if he didn't have yardage or any big plays, he was a decoy or he was going to open somebody else up. Maybe
isn't that cute?
But that would be saying that if you say that, then you're saying that Ohio State have a problem scored. They scored 41 points against Georgia, who was undefeated that year.
There you go.
41 points should win any game you play. And if you're a legit
Preach.
title contender, you should win any game.
Yeah.
And it didn't that game. Georgia made the plays when it had to be making. And credit to Georgia's defense. I will say that Ryan Day, who we give a hard time, he's justified a lot of that. They made some key mistakes in that last drive where Georgia had taken the lead and they were driving and there were some misholds. Watch the tape. There were some big misholds where CJ had nobody to throw to, and he just scrambled and ran, and they just grabbed and locked on.
They just grabbed and locked on. Refs ignored it. I wouldn't even call them missed. They were looking at it.
And it's almost like if you're looking at basketball on the last play and guys are driving and they just let some contact go. It felt like they were just going to let those plays go. And now I get it, but without that, he's not getting in the field goal range. But once they got in the field goal range, they made some key mistakes that they could have took it into their own hands. But I guess they just didn't trust that they could run the ball against Georgia.
Right.
But if you don't just come out passing the ball a couple of times,
and
they just run the ball and get 2 or 3 yards at a pop, and then they got a much shorter field goal. It's probably 35 to, it's probably about a 45 to 40 yard field goal. They just run the ball, but they didn't trust that.
That's exactly right.
You try to pass the ball against Georgia, now they're coming after you, and they did.
Yeah.
And of course, they shanked the field goal attempt to win it. They had the opportunity there, but again, you score 41 points, have 2 14-point leads in the second half. You got nobody to blame on offense other than your play caller there on that last drive. And so I feel very comfortable saying Georgia earned that win. I don't care if Marvin Harrison's out there or not. You scored plenty of points. And I don't know if you'd have scored any more with him in there.
That's the best point, because points weren't taken off the board after Marvin Harrison went night. They didn't score. The idea that because they viewed this hit as a targeting, that guaranteed them a score. What guarantees you a score against Georgia's goal line defense? Let's say it's first and down. First and goal. What in the world guarantees you a score? There's a lot of teams that don't score, especially against that defense. That is the epitome of Ohio State arrogance, to say if they would have called targeting. By the way, there is no one that knows football that thinks that was a targeting, okay? There's simply no one that understands football that thinks that was a targeting. It is only emotional neophytes in the football game that could possibly think that hit was targeting. That is a textbook hit. That is big boy football, and you didn't have big enough boys. It's just that simple. Our guys wanted it more, and our guys hit you in the mouth, and you couldn't hold on to the ball because of it, because you had to play big boy football. But it wasn't like the call or lack of call took any points off the board. You hadn't done anything. It is the epitome of Ohio State arrogance to assume a touchdown, not a field goal. They assumed a touchdown had a penalty been called. No, absolutely not. Ohio State, like Alabama, I get it. There were times when you were the best team on the field and you lost a national championship. I get the turmoil. No, Ohio State, look, you flashed in terms of big plays and playing for short amount of times. You were very impressive, but you weren't the best team on the field. One team wanted it more. One team was tougher. One team hit harder, and one team could play for 4 quarters, and none of those teams were you. And that's why you didn't get to play TCU in the national championship.
That's right. TCU was for us. That was our treat.
That was our reward. Yeah.
Beat a team that beat you.
That's right. Yes.
Chalk that up You got it. You got it anyway. So you had your chance. It didn't have to be TCU there if you beat Michigan. Anyway, I feel good about that. I feel good about both those championships because guess what? History books don't care.
No,
don't care at all. And Georgia's now looking forward to the next national championship and stocking everything up, stocking up their cupboards with recruiting. And I think they have a really good roster this year that we're looking forward to seeing, Smooch.
I see some real similarities between 21 and this year in this in the roster that's coming in. There's some really exciting similarities.
But some people don't believe that. Some people, even this might have been a Georgia fan. I'm going to flash this up there. I saw it on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And it was this CJ was responding to John Tweed Sports talking about Kirby Smart having a fire, kind of in his belly this year. And CJ says, too bad. He has an absolutely woeful offensive coordinator coupled with an average quarterback. He's obsessed with giving the QB number one slot to good old South Georgia boys. And this season, it will likely catch up with him as Gunner doesn't have Ladd or Brock, and they certainly don't have a generational defense. I don't know if any of that is based in fact.
Be careful there.
That defense could be generational. We did go see them play in spring, and we were very impressed. Mm-hmm. But the main takeaway was that he said that Georgia has an average quarterback, and he just getting that because he's a good old South Georgia boy, and he didn't earn it. And Twitch, there was several people on Twitter who chimed in and said, "You don't know. You're not a ball knower. What are you talking about?"
No. Go ahead. Okay, I was going to say number one, Stetson's from the most northern county in all of. Did I say Stetson?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Stetson. Gunner, by the way, doesn't he call him Gunter in that post?
He does.
Gunner is from the most northern county.
It borders on North Carolina, yes.
It borders on North Carolina, so you can throw out Southern Georgia boy right there. So you don't know geography as well as you don't know football. But the thing is even calling Gunner or Gunter, as he would say.
Is he German? Gunter.
Yeah, Gunter. Even calling Gunter average, that's still better than they were calling Stetson before the 2021 season. They weren't calling Stetson average. They were calling him well below that. So I guess he's in good company. The rest, take it home. Take the rest of it home, Troop.
Yeah, and so there were some numbers put out there that's like he's the average QB. He's had a couple of games. He won an SEC championship. He did do that. That's on him. He came in when Georgia was down to Texas and won that game. And his numbers in terms of a recruit is anything but average. Georgia, who is a state who has many historical figures in terms of football, iconic type players. Gunner has the record for all-time career passing touchdowns in the state of Georgia, 177. He owns it. He's the record holder. He has the record, and this is courtesy of John Tweet Sports, of all-purpose yardage because he's a runner and a passer. Over 18,000 all-purpose yards for Gunter Stockton.
Yes.
And a record again. He also has a record for the most career touchdowns combined, 254. We'll take that.
That's
and
good.
Then he's third all-time in passing with 13,652 career passing yards, only behind Trevor Lawrence. Not bad.
He's good.
And then one of the freshmen, Aaron Philo, who was a freshman last year at Georgia Tech, won 2 state championships and beat Swainsboro both of those games, my hometown team. So Aaron Philo,
yeah.
That was him. So he's the number one, Trevor's number 2, and then Gunner, get it right, CJ, is number 3 all time.
And number 4 is Deshaun Watson. Let's put that out there just so we know. Yeah.
Yes. And so good company, if nothing else, means he's not just given a nod as a South Georgia boy, not from South Georgia, or just a Georgia boy, or just a good old boy. Not given that nod just because of those things that Kirby Smart relates to.
Yeah.
He's going to have earned it. I think you guys are going to see it. You're going to appreciate it after this season because Georgia's going to build their team, build their offense around that style of player.
You're right.
And I think that's a good version of Georgia football in terms of what I think. So just a delusional fan alert right there for CJ. And you probably are a Georgia fan, but you're not a very good Georgia fan. So we're going to call you out.
Yeah, we got some delusional ones too. We'll be the first to admit it. So, CJ, you're on notice. Yeah. We're on the verge of, taking away your status.
Yes. And just to close us out today, and we talked so much last year about one of the darlings of college football and all the hype surrounding Deion and the Colorado Buffaloes. We got so much feedback last year.
Ignorant feedback, yes.
Their fans were so over the moon, and they couldn't believe that we would ever doubt what they were putting up.
This was their national championship season. 2025, they're going to win the national title. Yeah.
Well, they lost some players. They lost their Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter. He lost Shadarius. And they lost most of their marquee players. And then we knew that Deion didn't love recruiting. He's proven it. He's done a good job of recruiting it or proving his recruiting skill this year.
Not his thing, right?
Let's roll this right on through. You say he's not in the top 5, not in the top 10. Let's keep scrolling.
Where is he?
Yeah, right there. About 75 in the country. 75.
Ooh, that's
probably good.
That's unfortunate.
That's about where they're probably going to finish this year, if they're fortunate. And we only say that not because we hate on Colorado as a program, because of all the media hype that we ridiculed last year, and we got all this pushback. It's just fun. We enjoy that.
Yeah.
And we don't discourage you from pushing back on this either.
Yeah.
But this is our opening salvo to Colorado. If you got something for us, bring it on. And that's where we're going to sit with that delusional fan base, delusional part-time fans who probably won't be Colorado fans much longer.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Let's not forget, last year, 10-2 was your floor. We engaged in a 6-month-long battle with another podcast over that. We said 10-2 is the floor of Colorado. That would be a dream season for Colorado. And, you gotta hand it to Deion and company. They were able to come into Colorado and perform a heist of sorts, where you come in with all this fanfare, and you got the number one recruit in the country the year he came out, and you come in and you do all this stuff. But what we kept saying is this is not sustainable. And I don't know if the Colorado fans understood the meaning of the word, or they really had a problem with it, but they would just name how good they were going to be because of transfers they got. No, this is not sustainable. This is not Deion is about Deion. That's what made him fun to watch. And now his progeny is gone from Colorado. So how invested is he going to be? We're going to find out this year. And if recruiting rankings are any indication, it's exactly what we expected, True Brinson.
Yeah. So that'll be fun to follow. Just like it was fun to follow last year. I don't think it'd be as exciting this year. They did win some close games that gave them a better record last season, no doubt. We'll be on next week. I anticipate Smooch's schedule is cleared up. I think mine's going to be clear next week as well, as we prep. In a week from now, we will be in Alaska. We're going to do some stuff, some content from Alaska, as well as we head over to the 49th state, the last frontier, and just partake in all that is grand about the wilderness and fishing and just staying alive. We're gonna drink a lot. We're gonna eat great food, and we're gonna bring you guys a portion of that, hopefully. But we'll talk more. We'll talk more about that next week. I do think we're gonna have some recruiting news to kind of discuss before we
think we will too.
Full bore Alaska, and we'll see how close Georgia gets to overtaking USC for that number 1 spot in the recruiting rankings. That's just for fun. To be honest with you, we just do that not because we think it's going to affect anything. Because Georgia's always in the top 3. It's USC who's kind of jumped up there that we're kind of going back and forth with them. And that's a fun part of it.
USC will not be number 1 on National Signing Day. You can take that to the bank. Absolutely.
But a good season, USC Trojan. Congratulations if that's what you want. Yeah. A good season in terms of recruiting season, off season. As you guys have been a long time coming. I hope you can hold on to those guys and they don't, not get their check. The check bounces and they have to go somewhere. They have to bounce as well. So
Yep. That does happen.
All right. For Smooch Moncrief, this is Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.
Dog Show.
And so I think sometimes, we get into these slow motion things and we start to get so, caught up in the little details of everything. And it's not realistic sometimes watching it in slow motion.